Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice. Here we are going to take up the MCQs based on today's newspaper of The Hindu and Indian Express, which are important from UPSC Prelims exam perspective. The topics for today's discussion are listed on your screen. So let us start the discussion. The first question of today's discussion is based on this news article which has appeared on page number 8 in The Hindu. It basically talks about the international organization, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And recently, a leading US official has said that NATO is open to deepening its ties with India. As we all know, the international organizations are important and recurring theme in UPSC Prelims exam. We must be aware about the key aspects associated with such organizations. Every year, there are at least 2 or 3 questions from international organizations, be it United Nations, SCO, or any international bank. And in the year 2022, UPSC has asked that out of these 3 organizations, to whom India is a member. It is an easy question, just try a hand on this. And based on today's news, we have framed one practice MCQ on NATO. And it says, which of the following statements are correct regarding North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is famously known as NATO. In this question, you need to identify the correct statements. The first statement says, it works on the principle of collective defense. It is a correct statement, as NATO's decision is the expression of collective will of all 30 member countries, as its decisions are based on the consensus. So, it is a correct statement. The second statement says, for accession of new members, it follows an open door policy. It is again a correct statement, as under Article 10 of its founding treaty, it is said that NATO follows the open door policy, and the decision to invite a country to join the alliance will be based on consensus among the member countries. So, it is a correct statement. The third statement says the accession protocol need to be ratified by existing member states by majority. It is an incorrect statement, as the accession protocol is signed by all the NATO member countries. So, there is no such provision of ratification by the majority of the member states, and there is no such provision of ratification by the majority. Hence, the statement third is incorrect. The answer to this question becomes A, which is 1 and 2 only. And the answer to the previous year question is D, as India is a member of all the 3 organizations which are being mentioned here. India joined SCO in 2017, MTCR in 2016, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, that too in 2016. So, the answer to this question becomes D. Moving on to the next question, which is based on the new foreign trade policy, which is introduced by Government of India on Friday. As the policy initiatives are important from our UPSC Prelims exam perspective, this area becomes important for our discussion, and UPSC has previously asked many questions on government schemes and policy. As you can see, in the year 2017, UPSC has asked about National Intellectual Property Rights Policy. In this question, you are being given 2 statements and you need to identify which of the following is or are correct. Just try to attempt this question based on your common sense. The practice MCQ in this regard says that with reference to the Foreign Trade Policy 2023, consider the following statements. The first statement says the trade policy targets 2 trillion worth of exports of goods and services. It is a correct statement, as government has reiterated target of $2 trillion of exports of goods and services. So this statement is correct. The second statement says the policy shows a shift from remission based to incentive based regime. Now, whenever you come across such statements which talks about a shift from an older regime to new regime, you should be careful while solving that particular statement, as there are high chances that the regimes have been interchanged, and this statement is incorrect because the new foreign trade policies shows a shift from incentives based regime to remission and entitlement based regime, making this statement incorrect. The last statement says the policy's end date is 2030. It is an incorrect statement, as the new foreign trade policy has not put any end date to the trade policy target. So, it is an incorrect statement. And the answer to this question becomes A, which is 1 only. And the answer to the previous year question is C, because both the statements are correct, as the National IPR policy reiterates India's commitment to Doha Development Agenda and TRIPS agreement, making this statement correct. And many of you must be aware that Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion is the nodal agency for regulating intellectual property rights. So, both the statements are correct and our answer becomes C. Moving on to the next question, which is based on this particular article, which has appeared on page number 5 in The Hindu. It basically talks about the Sahitya Academy winner Sarah Thomas, who has recently passed away. She received the Sahitya Academy Award in 2010 for her overall contribution to the Malayalam literature. As cultural awards are important from our UPSC Prelims exam perspective, we must be aware about the nitty-gritties associated with such particular awards. And in the year 2021, UPSC has asked a question on Bharat Ratna Award. And in this question, you need to identify which of the statements are incorrect. It was a slightly tough question, but you should try this question with your knowledge base. The practice MCQ which we have framed says that consider the following statements with reference to the National Academy of Letters. The first statement says, with the proposal of Royal Asiatic Society of Bengal, the National Academy of Letters was constituted in 1944. It is an incorrect statement because in 1944, the Government of India has accepted the proposal of Royal Asiatic Society to set up the National Cultural Trust of India and not the National Academy of Letters. And in the year 1952, Government of India decided to establish the National Academy of Letters to be called Sahitya Academy by its resolution in December 1952. Hence, it is an incorrect statement. The second statement says the Bhasha Samman Award is bestowed upon authors for their contributions to the languages listed in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. It is again an incorrect statement because Sahitya Academy has been giving the annual award to the authors for their outstanding contributions in the 24 languages recognized by it. The 8th schedule constitutes 22 languages and this award is given to these 22 languages plus English and Rajasthani. Hence, both the statements are incorrect and the answer to this question becomes D, which is neither 1 nor 2. And the answer to the previous year question is D, as all the statements are incorrect. The Bharat Ratna Award is restricted to maximum 3 persons and not 5 in a particular year. And the above two statements are also incorrect. Now moving on to the next article which has appeared on page number 1 in Indian Express. It basically talks about the Central Information Commission's order on Prime Minister's degree. The context of this news is not very important as far as our UPSC Prelims exam is concerned. But this body is important as it plays an important role in ensuring the accountability of the government. And it was established under the RTI Act of 2005. UPSC has asked many questions on legislations and bodies which plays a vital role in governance of the country. So this area becomes important for our discussion. As you can see, in the year 2018, UPSC has asked a question on Right to Education Act. In this question, you are being given 3 long statements and you need to identify which of the following is or are correct. The practice MCQ which we have framed is based on the amendments to the RTI Act 2005 and it says with reference to the Right to Information Amendment Act 2019, consider the following statements. In this question, you are being given 2 statements and you need to identify which of them is or are correct. The first statement says Chief Information Commissioner and Information Commissioners will hold office for a term of 5 years. It is an incorrect statement because this was the provision under the RTI Act of 2005 and the amendment which was made in 2019 provides that the appointment will be for such term as may be prescribed by central government. Hence, it is an incorrect statement. The second statement says it brought the status of Chief Information Commissioner at par with Chief Election Commissioner. It is again an incorrect statement because the amendment has removed the equivalence of Chief Information Commissioner with that of Chief Election Commissioner. Hence, both the statements are incorrect. The answer to this question becomes D, which is neither 1 nor 2. And the answer to the previous year question is B, which is 2 only. As the first statement says, as per RTI Act, for appointment as a teacher in state, a person would be required to process the minimum qualification laid down by the concerned State Council of Teacher Education. It is an incorrect statement as it is a central act and there are less chances that the eligibility criteria for appointment as a teacher will be fixed by the State Council of Teacher Education, and this statement is incorrect. The third statement is also incorrect as it says in India more than 90% of the teacher education institutions are directly under the state government. Central government plays a major role in the education institutions of the country, making this statement incorrect. Now we are left with only one option and that is 2 only. The next question of today's discussion is based on this particular news which has appeared on page number 16 in Indian Express. It talks about the disputed islands of the world which are in news, more specifically in and around China. As these islands are situated at important locations of the world, one should be aware the disputes which are happening across the world related to islands. UPSC in 2022 has asked about Senkaku Island. In this question, you are being given 4 options and you need to identify which one is the correct option. It is an easy question, just try a hand on this. And on the similar lines, we have framed one practice MCQ in a similar manner like UPSC. In this question, you are being given 4 pairs in which you need to identify which of them are correctly matched. The first one is Snake Island. It is associated with the Black Sea and it is correctly matched. The second one is Partly Island, and the region which is mentioned is South China Sea. It is again a correct match. Now the third one is Senkaku Island, on which the UPSC has asked a question in the year 2022. Now it will make you realize why the previous year questions are important for our preparation. If you have solved this particular previous year question, whose answer is B, as Senkaku Island is a disputed island between China and sea and it is located in the East China Sea. If you are aware about this particular fact, you could have easily ruled out this particular option, as Senkaku Island is located in East China Sea and not in Sea of Japan. The fourth one is Kachativu Island, and the region which is associated is Indian Ocean. This island remains in news most of the year, so one must be aware about this particular island. Hence, the 3 pairs are matched correctly. The answer to this question becomes C, and the answer to previous year question we have already discussed is B. The last question of today's discussion is based on this particular news which has appeared on page number 8 in the Hindu. It basically talks about the digitization of audit process in India. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India has announced the full activation of the One Indian Audit and Accounts Department One system, which is OIOS. It is a web-enabled IT application with support of multiple languages. The context of this news might not be important as far as our UPSC Prelims exam is concerned, but CAG is a constitutional body and UPSC every year asks questions from constitutional bodies. As you can see, in the year 2017, UPSC has asked about Election Commission of India. In this question, you are being given 3 statements, out of which you have to identify which of them is or are correct. It is an easy question, you can try a hand on this. And on the similar lines, we have framed one question on Comptroller and Auditor General of India, which is also known as CAG. And it says, consider the following statements regarding CAG. The first statement is, CAG can be removed by the President on the same grounds and in the same manner as the Judge of Supreme Court. It is a correct statement, as under Article 148 subclause 1, it is mentioned that CAG can be removed in same manner as the Judge of Supreme Court. So, it is a correct statement. The second statement says, salary and other service conditions of CAG are determined by the Parliament and these cannot be altered to his or her disadvantage after his or her appointment. It is again a correct statement, as it has been directly taken from Article 148 subclause 3, which talks about the salary and other service conditions of CAG. Hence, it is a correct statement. The third statement says, CAG is not eligible for further office either under Government of India or any state after he ceases to hold his office. It is a correct statement, as Article 148 subclause 4 says that the Comptroller and Auditor General of India is not eligible for further office after he ceases to hold his office. In this question, all the statements are correct and the answer to this question becomes D, which is 1, 2 and 3. And the answer to the previous year question is also D, as the statement 1 and statement 2 are incorrect. We all know that Election Commission of India is not a 5-member body, it is a 3-member body. And the second statement says, Union Ministry of Home Affairs decides the election schedule for the conduct of both general elections and by-elections. The Home Ministry does not play any role in deciding the election schedule. Hence, the statement 1 and 2 are incorrect and the answer to this question becomes 3 only.